situated where I'm going to be going. I have still quite a lot of traveling to do, and I didn't have a chance to come live with you guys yesterday for a variety of reasons. One, I had been up since 6:30 on Saturday and did not go back to sleep at all until, I don't know, I slept in the car for like an hour. And from the time that we left, where 450 people were gathering and lining up in line, when I went back just an hour or so later, hey Diesel, it's nice to see you, there was like 4,000 people. And of course, that was, I didn't see how long, and I think that it was even bigger. I mean, people were just coming by the truckloads. And by the time there was morning, I have to say there was 10 or 20,000 people down the road. All I could see was people's heads. And they were, you know, we were all packed in there. We were all kind of stretched out. We started getting pushed on the, you know, they put these barriers. This is what I'll say. Secret Service did an amazing job. Turning Points USA did an amazing job putting everything together inside the gates, but they put barrier gates around it, and then that was local law enforcement. Local law enforcement dropped the ball. I don't think that community is very friendly, because I went up there and explained to an officer that, you know, this is going to be a shit show, basically, the way they've got it set up. Okay, I've been to enough of these things where, and of course, he's like, what did he say? Oh, we're not going to do that. You're just going to have to, you know, worry about yourself. And I'm like, you got it. I'll be happy to worry about myself. Have a great night. God bless you. I thank you for your service, right? Basically, you guys know what I was saying in those very, you know, sarcastic words, so to speak. And then literally 2.5 hours later, Secret Service is screaming at everybody that they need 20 feet in front of that gate. Well, you know what? Local law enforcement dropped the ball, right? Period. I was trying to explain to them. I was trying just to be helpful. You know, they're too dense. They're too arrogant to take help. And I'm also filing a complaint against Glendale Police Department when I get back home. 88 complaints. I'm filing 88 complaints with them and their state attorney. What they did to the elderly and the disabled was absolutely deplorable, and that is on their hands. They would not let any cars go and pick them up, where, you know, mind you, some of these people are in wheelchairs and motor scooters and, you know, other crazy stuff. And they made them literally walk a half a mile away. A half a mile away. That is, when you have disabled people, you have to make reasonable accommodations. Reasonable accommodations. There was no reasonability with the accommodations that they were doing to those disabled people. I mean, people in motor electric chairs and wheelchairs, and, you know, people that just had walking disabilities. When you got outside, they didn't care. They didn't care. So we're going to make sure that they do care. And you know, I've got a few people that are going to give me statements, but I'm going up there, and I'm going, not up there physically, but I'm going to call up there and speak to somebody that's in charge and tell them that that is absolutely unacceptable. And I think they violated the law. I think law enforcement outside of that arena violated the law, and I hope they're not doing that to every time somebody, you know, things go on in that stadium. Because there was limited parking, and you can't reasonably make somebody that was dropped off at a particular corner have to go another half a mile away to be picked up. It's just unreasonable. So hey, Sweet Misery, I got to meet Sweet Misery. She can tell you, I was freaking tired last night. I was ready to drop. I had an opportunity. It was one of those things where we didn't know if it was going to work out, where we could meet up. And I thought it wasn't going to work out, because when I finally got out of the arena, we couldn't get any Ubers or lifts to pick us up. And Sharon couldn't walk any further. Again, another person that had disabilities that was made to walk when she's got knee problems. And they were trying to force it, so we could only sit in one area until they finally opened up the roads, so we could try to get a Lyft or Uber to come pick us up, because they couldn't come get us. And we tried and tried and tried. I even walked down the road, did the pin drop so I could just meet them down the road when they got there. We could help Sharon down the road. And nothing. So Mike ended up going back and getting his vehicle, which is the vehicle him and Sharon came in. And then once he came back, which was again a mile and a half down the road, it took him a little while to get there. But once he got the car, he was able to drive back and take me to my car, which is really good. We were very fortunate that we weren't too far, because if we were a lot further than a mile, it might have been a little bit of a problem, So thankful for that, but I didn't even drive out of the area where the event happened, State Farm Stadium. I didn't get out of there until 6 o'clock. So by the time I got on the road, I was ready to drop. I had no sleep. Okay, I'm telling you, Saturday at 6:30 when I woke up, and that was a mountain time, which I couldn't figure out. I'm like, wait a minute, they should only be 2 hours behind us. And my mom's telling me that they're 3 hours behind us. Like, how the heck can mountain time be 3 hours behind us? Well, she tells me in Arizona they do not have daylight savings time. So when we have daylight savings time or vice versa, when we go back an hour, then we end up being 3 hours behind them. So it's weird to me, but we were, even though it wasn't Pacific time, we were 3 hours behind Eastern time. So 6:30 in the morning, which I believe was 9:30 in the morning our time. That was the last time I went to sleep until after I saw Sweet Misery last night. And the only reason why we were able to see each other is because once I realized I wasn't going to get too far out of town, and she was still in Arizona and on my way out. And so it just happened to be that was a great place to stop and get a hotel. So she was only 30 minutes from the hotel I got. And it was great. I got to see her. I mean, we didn't spend a whole lot of time because I was ready to drop, and it was already late at night because I don't think she got there until like after 9, and I think she left by 10. I think I went to bed. I mean, I don't even know if I was awake. I remember going in and getting ready to lay down and realizing her cup was there. I just came back in the room and I saw him calling her, and I'm like, I said, are you still in the parking lot? I don't know if she was or not, but by the time I got downstairs, she was there, and I brought her a big gulp. So it was nice. It was nice to see her face. I got to tell you, she was a doll. She's a doll. Really nice. We got to laugh, which is what I needed, So it was good times. It was good times. Oh, thanks, Sweet Misery. And listen to this. I got to tell you guys, I need everybody to say a prayer before we get into the stuff that happened at the arena and everything that I witnessed personally. I need you guys to say a prayer for Laura. You guys know Laura's my BFF, and she's been watching Delilah. I told you guys about Jameson, the big gray Rottweiler Doberman she has. Good gracious, what am I talking about, Rottweiler? The big, you guys have seen, I've showed you guys pictures of this Doberman, and it's just a doll. I mean, he's huge. Well, she went to wake up Sunday morning when we were going into the service, and she called me, and she was just a mess. And so when she called me, I couldn't hear her, and she ended up hanging up on me. And then she calls back, and she's just slobbering. And for that split second, I thought, oh my God, something happened to Delilah. And she just blurts out, Jameson, he passed away in his sleep. And Jameson has been there for years, it was her son's dog that he got for his wife, which ended up passing away from. So there's just a lot. I don't want to throw out all of her personal business, but a lot of a lot of memories with that dog, and 2 deaths. So very, very special dog for us, and she's a mess. That's all I can say. She's an absolute mess. And so I thought, maybe my dog being there might be a little too much for her. My dog's a puppy. And so I call my mom, and I'm like, Mom, Jameson died, and I think you might need to go get Delilah. I said, I want to give Laura some time to grieve. And so I sent Mom her number, and Mom called up there and talked to her, and Laura's like, nope, she needs to be with her best friends. And so it was really sweet and enduring. She just wanted the dogs to be together and love on each other and be there for each other and stuff like that. So it's just been an emotional, few weeks, I gotta say. Just a lot has happened. Um, Charlie's memorial, outside of the craziness, outside of the arena. Now, let me tell you guys something. You guys know I have been to a lot of these things, okay? A lot. Not near as much as our leadership has, but a lot of these things. I have been at all sizes. I have never in a million years witnessed what I witnessed being outside of the State Farm Stadium. It was insane. I had never seen that many people. Usually we're there, we have a few hundred people. We've been at events where there are a few hundred people. Guys, these people started lining up. I couldn't see down the road. They had to have been lining up around 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. We got wind that people were lining up. We got photos that they were lining up and staying in line. And so we ended up grabbing our stuff. That's why we didn't go to sleep, because we were supposed to go to sleep that night and get up like around midnight and start making our way there. Well, plans changed very quickly, because by 8 o'clock, we realized there was already 450 people in line. Now, we were the front row Joes. We're usually at the front of the line. But we always put our, wherever our place is where our place is, And so we got in line in our place, and we were sitting there. And so usually, and we talked to the people around us. We were there for about an hour, 2 hours, getting to know everybody, speaking and stuff like that, getting a game plan on where we're going to put our vehicles. We knew where our vehicles were. They weren't going to be able to stay there. And so we decided to go back and just get just a few minutes of air conditioning. It was hot as heck out there, and get a few minutes of shut-eye, So I crawled in the back seat, and I think I was back there for maybe an hour and a half. I got some sleep, and then, security comes by and wakes us up and stuff like that, which we deal with all the time. They were cool. And so we had our plan B. We went and executed plan B, which happened to be a mile down the road. About a mile and a tenth of a mile, so down the road, and we Ubered back to the location where we had put our chairs. And when we got there, we couldn't find our chairs. There were so many people. It was good. I mean, I didn't have any problems. There were so many people out there, no problems. But then all of a sudden, somebody says, I think it was like around 4 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be opening the gates, and everybody rushed over to the gates. Then the cops come back. Everybody get on the other side of the road, And that's where I finally took the camera. We got kicked back on that side of the road, got the camera out while the flashing lights were, and I did a live just to show. Did I do a live? I think I did a live that night. Maybe I did. Maybe I just recorded some of the stuff, but I'm pretty sure I did a live out there with all the cops and stuff. I can't remember one way or the other. Again, lack of sleep. My brain does not function with no sleep. So we get that, and then all of a sudden, we're strategists, so we're sitting out there, we're watching everybody, we're trying to make our strategy, because we're going to make our way closer to the gate. Obviously, it's all about strategy, okay? That's what we excel at when we're out there. So we finally, everybody starts going over there, well, it's kind of hard because we're wearing vests, and everybody are jerseys, and everybody kind of knows us or knows our jerseys, or we've got pretty famous jerseys. And so it's kind of hard to sneak, across the street without everybody knowing. And so Mike's like, I'm gonna go for it. And I'm like, and so Sharon gets up, she's like, go for it. And I'm getting up, and I'm like, they're like, this is not gonna work. And as soon as people started seeing us move, then, little by slow, other people started moving. And so we ended up taking our chairs and sticking them off the sidewalk and into the grass, because if the cops were going to come back and force everybody off the sidewalk, I was keeping my butt right there in the grass. And so long story short is everybody ended up just around 5 o'clock. Now the gates didn't open until 6:30. Everybody just bum rushes. Now you're talking about, at this point, 10 to 20,000 people decide it's a smart time to just get over there in front of the gate and be a pack of sardines, and it's like you can't tell them nothing because everybody's a knucklehead, and I finally had to push people away, and I put my seat down. I said, look, move your toes or some toes are going to be broken because I'm sitting down. Like, I got to sit. My back can't handle that. That's why I bring my chair. I'm very comfortable with our, the way we do things. But all these people around me, so I ended up pulling the chair out and stepping on something, backed up a little bit, and I was able to put my chair down. Thank you kindly. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. But I'm sitting. You guys want to stand up and be packed in like sardines? Go right ahead. Bless you. My butt's sitting down right in the middle of all of that. I pulled out my chair and sat down in the middle of, you guys saw how crazy it was out there. I had my chair pulled out and sitting down in the middle of all that. And so then it started getting crazy because people wouldn't move. We couldn't even get the employees in. The employees couldn't get through the gate. We had officers going. And again, I tried to help the officers out so this wouldn't happen. And they wanted to be arrogant and be like, oh, you need to take care of yourself, ma'am. Okay, sir. Have a great day. God bless, and thank you for your service, right? I went over there and told them, I said, this is going to be a shit show, y'all. I knew right then. These people had no freaking clue how to handle something like this. Now, again, I thought that they were rude, arrogant, and they weren't beyond reproach. In a situation like that, when you have tens of thousands of people, you should be willing to open your ears and listen, especially to people that have been to a lot of these things. I didn't even go and start saying, you guys are going to need to do this. I should have just interject myself while I knew a sergeant was right there and say, look, this is going to be a hot mess express and somebody's going to get hurt if you don't do this, and this. But you know what? They're two knuckleheads. But long story short, after we did get in, they didn't have like concessions. People were late into work. Concessions weren't ready. It was just a lot of stuff with the facility itself, just being the local people out there were just a hot mess express. Secret Service, the security inside the arena, all the stuff that they were doing was by far excellent, and they allowed everybody to have their moments to pray. There was a lot of singing. I'm sure you guys got a chance to watch everything that you can on that. It was, I can't express to you that what you guys saw on TV was probably a very minute feeling. Hearing those musicians stop in that whole arena singing, it's something I can't express into words. It's all kinds of beautiful. I was exhausted, so there was moments when I rested my eyes during some of the singing, because I had no sleep. It was hard not to, and I knew that we were going to be there. As I was realizing how long the singing had gone on, I realized there was going to be a lot of speakers, and so I was trying to be able to carry through the whole entire time. The good news is when the speakers finally did get on the stage, I was rested enough that I could actually pay attention to what was going on. But we stood up, we sang, we had signs. It was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. I had the honor of knowing Charlie Kirk when he was alive. Many people didn't. I had an opportunity to speak with him, not very many times, but several times about a lot of things. And he took the time to speak. I think the last time I had seen Charlie was at his, and I didn't even get a chance to speak with him this last time, but I did get to see him, and I did wave. And that was at the most recent SAS, and I think I did some lives outside of SAS, when I was there. And then I went in and I got to see some of, the people I haven't seen in a while. I got to see Craig Long. I got to see Steve Davis, which is MAGA Hawk. I got to, sit and talk to them for a little bit and just catch up with them, which that's, a lot of these people, the only time I do get to see them is at these events. And the only time I get to see Charlie is literally at a TP USA event. So if I'm not going to a TP USA event or going to a college where he's speaking or to an event, like he spoke at several different dinners I've been at across the state of Florida and I can't remember if it was in Kentucky or Georgia, But I digress. Either way, I've been to several events that he's been a speaker of, and it was one of the dinner events that I had an opportunity to pick his mind, and that was a, opportunity. I didn't know him personally. I think a lot of people are learning about him. There were so many people in that arena that had went back to church or was going to church for the first time because of Charlie. And it's just hard to express because I was in goosebumps almost the whole time I was there. But you felt Erica's statements, when she said, I forget, she said something to the effect of, my husband tries to save or help young men like the one that took his life. And she read a verse and she says, I forgive him, I forgive you, or something to that. And the whole entire arena just went nuts. There was a lot of times where I listened to some of the clips online, and it doesn't do it justice because the microphone is at the speaker's mouth, but the surrounding, those speakers are meant to drown out a lot of background noise. So when you heard it, heard people in the background, it sounded like thunder. Like, you felt that. Like it was, you didn't feel, like I listened to some of the stuff and it didn't have that feeling of being right there. It really didn't. It was just, it was insane. And to be there and to, we've made history. I have to tell you, my group that I was affiliated, we're going to be ingrained in history as well. Not to the legacy of Charlie Kirk. But, I never looked at it like that until President Donald Trump had said on the stage that he will forever be in history. This will be written in history, and it dawned on me. And it's like, the organization I'm affiliated with, has a movie, a documentary with the president in it. Like we're gonna kind of be ingrained in history too. And I never thought of it like that. We just do things because it's the right thing to do. And it's interesting. It's interesting. I don't know. But I'm very proud of what Charlie's been able to accomplish. And I think one of the things that was known at this revival for Charlie is just how things wouldn't be the way they are without his death. That this was the part of his path. This was part of his story. This was God's will. And that's the hardest pill that has to be swallowed in all of this, is that this truly was God's will. And it was so public that it shook the sheer fabric of many people into questioning their own life, questioning the things that they're doing themselves. And I don't know. It was just, I will forever have that history ingrained, and I'm so thankful for all of the people that made this possible, even the people that gave us permission to dig into the legal fund, so I just appreciate y'all. And we didn't. I want to tell you guys that right now. We didn't dig into, not 1 cent was spent out of the legal fund. We were able to raise $400 or $400 or $500, and then I contributed, I don't know, $200 or $300. And I didn't count my sister. My sister sent me a $20 gift card because I'm meeting her tomorrow, and I told her where I'll stay, and she goes, here's $20, get dinner on me. And I wrote her, yeah, she's my little sister, you don't pay for little, big sissy's food. So I wrote her back, and I'm like, oh, I said, this is totally unnecessary. I said, this is totally unnecessary, Taylor. I said, but thank you. And she's like, of course, and she would just, even though it was just a text message, of course, it reminded me of my stepdad so much. It just reminded me, Well, Velda, we got some work to do because Corey in my state has just really stepped into a whole lot of poo-poo. And I don't know if the political activist in me can sit on my hands. I really don't. We had an opportunity to censor Omar, that whatever her name, Omar lady, that's from Somalia, that hates America, that's in Congress, and he freaking sided with her to keep her, like, and he was married at one time to like an Al-Qaeda spy or something like that. I'm like, if I had known, I'd have probably been in front of his doorstep a long time ago. But I have a funny feeling I'm going to have to do a live about true crime on the channel. And then I might be on the TikTok President for Betty live with a bullhorn in my thing and saying Connie lives here. Be out in front of his office and have a big old sign because I don't know, you guys have never seen me with I have a tall wooden thing that fits 2 big normal size posters on it. My ex-husband made it for me, so it fits 2 posters and it's got a little handle on it so I can walk it, and it's taller than me. And I literally put like 2 different sayings on it. So I'm thinking about going and getting $2 signs and a $1 packet of Marks a Lot, and do it Bullhorn Betty style. Stand out on the road, pointing an arrow that way. Problems live here. Problems live here. So I don't know. We'll see. I've never seen it because I've never had that. I've never had it. Not only that, I'm not taking that. That's my political get-up. I'm not taking that out to true crime. I mean, it's got a whole, I just staple new poster boards on it. So it's got a lot of stuff that would make people probably, I don't know. I'll still do me. I'm just saying. Get him, Betty. Yeah, I just couldn't believe that. Like, we had an opportunity to censor her. And and pull her off committees that she has weight in, and he didn't. I can tell you he's already feeling the heat, and I've already told him I'm coming. So as soon as I get back to Florida, do not make vile threats. If I tell you I'm going to show up in front of your business, I'm coming to show up in front of your business. I'm a one-man show and a one-man wrecking ball, under the law, by the law. Following the law, dotting my I's and crossing my T's. Somebody can call the governor and tell him I'm going to be protesting. I'm not protesting in front of his house, but if I was, I'd make sure I would keep myself doing a circle, make sure I followed that new protest law. I mean, I'm willing to challenge it, but right now I'm a time and place type of girl, and I got too many sticks in the pot as is. But I'm going to Corey. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. I'm going to have my camera on him, and when he walks out of his office, is there a reason why you did this? I'll get him on the record. Maybe he might come out and say, hey Betty, so why'd you do it? He might have a great explanation on why he did it. And then if he comes out and speaks to me, I'm going to challenge him on every single thing that he has to say. But I have a funny feeling he's probably one of these people that are missing those anatomies, those parts of the anatomy, the spine and in the groin area, probably didn't have anything. Instead of having some plums, he probably got some grapes. I'm just saying, or maybe they're even dried than that. Maybe they might be raisins. But all I'm saying is him and Mike Johnson have the same problem. Actually, I need to lay off Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson, I'm not with, like, our speaker. There's just something about him that I just don't like. I will be honest with you. I've been on there trying to apply pressure by using the extremity issues that are missing. And I do say them very bluntly. If you guys haven't been to Twitter, that's like no bars hold. Like I chew them out. I tell them to sit the F down. I'm just like, you guys need Sonia, you can't go over there, okay? You cannot go over there. Your poor little eyes. I'm not even going to subject you to it. I'm just going to tell you, you are not allowed over on my ex account, okay? I know I need help, and I know I need prayers, okay? I know that. I know this, okay? I was in an arena. I prayed a lot. This has been a very eye-opening and all BS set aside, this has been a very personally enlightened, where I've had to rethink some of the things I'm, doing. And I don't know if I'll ever quit cussing. But we'll see. I don't trust Johnson either. Yeah, there's just something about him, Mike. I don't know what it is, but it's the way he carries himself. It's the way he talks. He's too, you know me. I do not like politicians. I think that's why I don't like him. Is because he's establishment for me. I don't care how much he appears to act like he's not establishment. He walks and talks like establishment. If you notice anything about me, I like the underdogs, okay? That's why I supported Trump. I'm so thankful. I'm thankful even more now than I was before. Did you guys watch what came out of the White House today? If you guys did not watch what came out of the White House today, you need to watch it. It is absolutely everything that we've been talking about. So, to back up, I was very ignorant on autism. I was very ignorant about the spectrum. I was very ignorant. Hey, Pebbles. Oh, me too. It's nice to see you. I was very skeptical about just ignorant about the spectrum and everything like that. And so we were covering the Sebastian Rogers case, which is he was 15 at the time. He disappeared from his home off of Stafford Court. I believe his mother and his stepfather did something to him. Their names, there's Chris and Katie Proudfoot. I think they absolutely had something to do with it. I'm not going to go through the case in detail here. If you want to stay, this is a true crime channel, so please sub up and we'll go through more details next week, or later this week as I get home and get back to Florida. Of course, I went on a tangent and lost my place because I'm still tired. I'll get back to it. But long story short is that was the first time I realized or learned anything about autism. I did not have a clue what it was. I was a fish out of water when I started covering the case. But as everything, I do my research. Anybody that has information, I talk to them. I talk to a lot of parents, a lot of grandparents, a lot of special ed teachers, even special needs bus drivers. Different things about autism, and President Trump has made it his mission to get to the bottom of autism. We are now learning, despite many years of being told that Tylenol is good for us or can be taken with children, we are absolutely learning that that is not the case. And not only is that not the case, that you should not be giving it to your child at all as a baby, or anything. Do not use Tylenol in your body. Do not use it with your infant. It is perfectly fine when you're not pregnant and when your child's older. But do not use it. They've also recommended breaking out the vaccinations that are required for children into 5 different vaccinations. I found out that they're pumping infants with over 80. That is, I'm sorry. Americans do not need 80 vaccines. I'm not a doctor. They didn't cut back on what to put in your child's body. That is, if I had ever known that there was 80 different vaccines that they're pumping in infants, I would have lost my ever-loving crap. I don't think that there should be ever a reason. Thank you, Seth. Let me see if I can pin that. I don't think that there is ever a reason to put that many vaccinations in a child. Okay? And then they're sending them home with high fevers and telling them to take Tylenol, and then their child is messed up, and they keep repeating this, repeating, and the statistics are staggering. Once upon a time, we had 1 in every 20 or 30,000. And we're down to 1 in every 30 or 1 in every 10. And we had the CDC all of these years not realizing it might be the vaccinations. And we wonder why Robert F. Kennedy went in there and fired all them MFers. And now, boom, we're starting to understand. RFK, sorry. We're starting to understand what happened to the children. And guess what? It's what all the parents were telling me about when I was learning about the Sebastian Rogers case. Everything. I can't tell you how many times I heard the parents tell me the same story. There was some that were a little different. But for the most part, every person I spoke to, story after story after story, seemed to have one key element with the change in their child, from going from a happy, normal child to where it's almost like they saw the lights go out, as somebody had explained to me. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And to think that the CDC, the twisted sadist sex guy, telling us how to live our lives and what medication, and trying to, tear Robert Kennedy apart. And here we find out that this whole time they've been covering. And we know that they've been covering. There's no excuse for them not making the connection. I'm sorry, there's not an excuse in this world that you cannot tell me that they couldn't make a connection when I was completely ignorant on March 16th, 2024. And by, I don't know, June something, 2024, we started having some major conversations on autism and ADHD, the spectrum. And and I was telling you guys all the stuff I was learning, so we were kind of educating each other during this time. And over and over and over again, everybody, and I didn't stop them either, even though I didn't know, the vaccines, that was the number one thing that parents, grandparents, school bus drivers, everything, when they saw the change. And then I find out that they're pumping an infant with 80 vaccines. 80. And then fighting to keep their jobs after poisoning our children. And we got to listen to the left once again, right? The Democrats wanting to keep these people in office, right? And people still ain't getting it. I'm not trying to be biased, but damn it, when I see something and I see it loud and clear, I see it loud and clear. So you got the Dems pushing for our babies to be sick. You got them pushing frickin' drugs over the border. They're allowing people to infiltrate our entire country. Kill our people by the hundreds of thousands, and put criminals back on the streets with us to harm us. Like everything that the layers are being peeled back, and every time we turn around, it's a Democrat policy that's making us sick or trying to kill us. And I just can't figure it out. I just can't figure out what is the wage on our children from the Democrat Party, where they want to injure their brain or turn them into S dolls and start talking to them about S stuff, at 5 years old. I think it's sick. I think it's truly, truly sick. And we are here because we try to get laws that prevent stuff like that from happening. But every time I turn around, it's only one side of the street that keeps this stuff going. One side of the street. Everything I had to go through to try to get that man to become president, to uncover all this stuff, and still people are still not taking their blinders off to see what these people have done to this country, to our children. Since the government got involved in the public education, shit has gone downhill, leaving no child behind as a joke based on how they went about it. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just sick. It's sick. And people don't want, and people want to be nasty and act like, oh, it's a badge of honor to go and get that poison put in your body, just to show the man. Like, I ain't pumping my body with chemicals, nothing. I was in South Dakota during COVID. Nobody had to wear a mask. I know, because you had known. She was badass as DeSantis at that time. Our Manatee County tried to put a curfew on us. By the time I got done with them and a few other people, that thing was lifted by the end of the next VOCC meeting. Like I was ready. I told them, I'm like, I don't even know. You guys got to go back and watch that. Watch the meetings, the VOCC meetings. You guys got to go back and watch them from back in those days. I went off. I was screaming. I'm like, so we got to say we got to have a curfew, and you're saying our officers are so busy? Then why the hell are they rounding up cattle in North Manatee County? The officers are out there running, chasing cattle that got out in the middle of the frickin' road. And they're saying, we can't be outside. Well, then why the hell are you rounding up the cattle? They didn't like what was going on. The poor cows, they didn't like what was going on in Manatee County. They broke out. They were trying to run away. The officers had to go out there and force and show who's boss. Hey, medic biker, I didn't do any of it. Well, it's because what they were doing I knew was wrong. First of all, I didn't trust the people. I didn't trust Fauci. I spoke to several people in my community whenever this was going on, and I'm glad I talked to the right people, because boy, you could have been led astray very quickly without having somebody with common sense. It let me know which doctors to never ever go to. That's a positive thing that I can say I got out of there, because and I even wanted to remove money from those local hospitals. Any type of state or federal assistance they were getting, I wanted to cut it off, because they, in my opinion, were scamming money from the state. They were classifying so many natural causes to COVID at the time, just because instead of getting 2,500, they got 25,000 to 75,000 per head. It was sick. A lot of people did not know what was going on behind the scenes, but of course I was plugged in. I knew exactly what was going behind the scenes. I tried very hard to keep my county from even filing any type of reimbursement for it, because I thought it was all fraud. And I still feel that way to this day. They put us into this mess, and then they try to use our money to pay everybody out of this mess. And now we're $36 or $37 trillion in debt, because we've had people piss our money away and hand it to everybody else than the people that need it. I mean, the 5G is the same spectrum as the 4G, so how is this new? I have no idea. I never understood it. I liked LTE. It worked just fine. I had no problems with LTE. None. I had no problems with LTE. And now I find that the 5G, they say it's supposed to be faster, but I'm sorry. When I was driving through LG service, I didn't drop at all. Ever. And the 5G, if you're not closer to the units, it's just crap. Oh, hey Tina, it's nice to see you. Aw, thank you so much. Large open air developments at brands 52466. Those were already in the air and have been for decades. Yeah, I can tell you like this. I know for Arizona, it's out in the middle. I've never sneezed so much. I'm allergic to Arizona. poor sweet misery. I told her, I'm like, I'm sorry, girl. I don't like your state at all. And I didn't. I don't like the state. I'm sure the people are great in Arizona, but I don't like the roads. I don't like the weather. I don't like the sneezing. Everything there made me sneeze. My nose stayed clogged like half the time I was there. Just not, I love the people. That's it. But I'm telling you, I'm allergic to Arizona. I'm allergic. I'm allergic. I was outside. I'm getting frustrated because we couldn't get the car. And I started seizing it. I'm like, God bless it, right? I'm like, and I'm allergic to the damn state too. I'm allergic to the state. Anyways, I mean, a few billion people got vaccinated and are measurable. Nah, I beg to differ. There's been a lot of people that have just dropped, from that's the C-vax. There's a lot of people that have just, they keep that out of the stories. There's a lot of people that lost their life. They don't tell you that story. That's why I hate the media. I hate the media because of that. I hope they do. I hope, yeah, that's in Tylenol. The Tylenol, Dreaming Merc, yeah, that's it. You guys stay away from the Tylenol. I mean, as an adult, you're fine. And then once your infant becomes a little bit older, it's fine. But it's, the connection's there. We've been told this whole time that Tylenol's been safe for pregnancies, for your infants, and we're finding out that's not the case. Think about all the medicine that are pumped. All the infant medicine has Tylenol in it. All of it. All of it. Go show me something that doesn't have Tylenol in it that's made for the kids. And I never understood it, and I'm one of these people, and when he said something, I've said it many times, because I don't take fever reducers. When I have fevers, I never take fever reducers. As a matter of fact, I cover myself and bury myself into it because I want to sweat it out. It's your natural antibiotics. And so I don't know why I've been like that, but I've always known that the fever, you need to have the fever to break the sickness. I don't know why people always try to break the fever. I like the fever to break on its own, because then I knew when I was not contagious anymore, when I knew when I start making the turn. I don't recall ever having a fever more than 24 hours. So, and I don't recall it, I think the highest I've ever gotten was 102.5. And most people say, well, you probably need to go to the hospital during that. No. If it's not getting up to 103 or 104, I'm not going. I mean, I've got to be like almost dead to go to the hospital. And I've never had problems. And if things got really bad, I would get in the ice water, an ice bath, which naturally brings your body temperature down if you need to. It's not a comfortable thing to do, but you do not need Tylenol. And the reason why I'm saying the ice bath, and some people are like, oh my gosh, it'll get you shot. I'm sorry, I've plunged myself into ice when I've been getting too hot. When I got up to 102.5, I went into the ice water. I didn't have shock, okay, but it brought my body temperature down to a measurable temperature. And again, I was crying and I was freezing, and it's 10 times colder when you have a fever. But I didn't have to take medication to reduce my fever, because I don't mind fevers. If I'm sick and I need to have a fever, then my fever needs to do what it needs to do. But I think that was basically what he was trying to say, is if you can just deal with it, deal with it. Thankfully, I've never had to get a headache or sick. I feel better. My mom used to get migraines really bad. Alcohol baths will help as well. I've never had alcohol baths before. Oh, you're talking about just like rubbing yourself down with alcohol? Yeah, I guess that would bring you down. I never thought about that. Yeah. But, wow, that was a hit to Tylenol, because now all their infant medication, it's got to be withdrawn. It's no longer safe for infants. And I just keep thinking, what if RFK wasn't in there? What if it was anybody else? What if it wasn't this administration? We would have more, tens of thousands of babies this year born with autism. Tens of thousands of babies. Now, the good news is, this is another thing I found out, is that they actually have a remedy that is showing promising results in the children. So if you do have a child that's autistic, I don't know the name of the drug that they were talking about, the pharmaceutical needs to be prescribed, but they did say it in the press conference. So if you have an autistic child, which I know there's a lot of people that are on my channel because of the Sebastian Rogers case, in their pool, their passion for it was because this child was autistic, and it reminded them of their child. And they put their child almost in the shoes of this child, and they really were drawn to the case because of the autistic and spectrum aspect of this particular case. So I know I've got a lot of audience members that have autistic children. Well, you need to go back and watch that, and you need to find out if that medication can be prescribed to your child to help possibly reverse some of that damage that was done. They basically said that there's like the it cut off a receptor or something that doesn't allow you to absorb something. And I know we went over something on the show before I left to come up here to Arizona about autism, and I can't remember what date because again I'm tired and my days and weeks have started running together when I get this lack of sleep, and I've got a lot of lack of sleep. But the good news is I slept well last night. I feel like I'm going to sleep well tonight. I know it's late for all of you guys, but it's like 10:14 here, so I'm assuming on the West Coast it's midnight potentially there. So you guys were great sports and getting here and saying hi. Hey, Meow, it's nice to see you, love. And everybody else that's here, dreaming of blue skies and sandy beaches. It's leucovorin calcium. I have patients that I prescribe it for. Very good. Thank you for that. I'm going to change the post now to this. So any of you guys that have autistic children, that's the medication right there. So that is really good. And, you know, I don't know what the full capabilities will be with new therapies, but it's worth a shot if you have a child or even an adult that has autism, especially if it's high functioning autism. You might be able to fully reverse the autism. It's worth a shot, in my opinion, if there's very low side effects or allergies to it. 8:15 on the West Coast, I believe 11:15 on the East Coast. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm lost because all I know is it's 10:15. It might only be 11:15 there. I might be Central Time now. It's also known as folinic acid. Oh, 11:15 here. Okay, good. So I'm only an hour behind. Oh, that's really good. That's really good. And I'm really excited because I hit going through Louisiana by my sister right at the time she gets off of work. So I actually, and this is rare for me because Sweet Misery and I, we were worried that we weren't going to be able to see each other. And I don't go to Arizona, and I know we've been trying to meet up for at least a year or longer. And so I finally had an opportunity to meet her, and I'm glad she was able to drive and meet me and get to meet me. But I didn't even know if I was going to be able to see my sister. But I really wanted to see two people on this trip, and one was Sweet Misery, and the other one was my sister, since I was so close to her. And so I get to see my sister tomorrow. So I'm super excited about that. Now, it won't be a long trip or anything like that. We're just going to probably meet at a coffee house. And, oh, is Brown Chicken in here? It's nice to see you, Brown Chicken. Aw, hope you're doing well. Upper East Tennessee, 11:16. Okay, perfect. Then I'm in Central Time, so that's good to know. So anyways, what was I gonna say? So I get to see her. It's not going to be anything like, where we can go watch a movie or anything together, but we'll be able to at least, give each other a hug, sit down and, hang out with each other for a few minutes before I got to get back on the road. Maybe have a cup of coffee, maybe a small bite to eat or something like that. So I'm really super excited about that. So anyways, all right, guys. Well, I've already been on here long enough. It's obviously pretty late. I'd like to get some sleep. I'm probably not going to leave here until they have breakfast here, so I'm probably not going to leave here until I eat, until after 6:30, 6:37, and then I think I'll be good. So that's really it. I mean, it was an amazing service. I'm sure we could have done a little bit more. We could have gotten, I really do believe if we would have made a couple of calls, we would have gotten some tickets for the floor, but we weren't on the floor. We stood in line. And I tell you, if we would have known it was going to be that crazy outside the door, I think we would have probably tried to get our plackets, because we've got obviously numbers we could have called, but again, it's just front row Joe thing is a front row Joe thing. You know, we part of the reason why we do what we do is just to be able to stand in the line, to be able to be around all the people, the camaraderie, the like-minded people, and but this one was just we were even out of our element. I think for the first time, all three of us, because we saw the freight train coming before it hit, you know, because we've been at enough of these things that we were truly worried about people's safety and the lack of concern from law enforcement outside of that arena. They didn't care, and you know that's their only job is to care about the safety and well-being of that community and the people outside of those gates, and they didn't care. And that for me, which I don't do, you know, I've seen a lot of stuff go on at these rallies. I've never wrote about it. I've never wrote the president about it. I've never complained. You know, I've always just grin and bared it. But this one was so bad, and so many people could have been seriously injured that it's unacceptable for me. It's unacceptable to the point that I feel I have to write something about it. You know, I have to let them know how I feel about the fact that they put not only my life in jeopardy, but a lot of people's lives in jeopardy. But more importantly, the people that were standing outside of that gate that had ADA, people that were in wheelchairs and stuff like that. They did everything as poorly executed as humanly possible. I think the governor is horrid. She ended up jacking up the gas rates in that area, and yes, don't say that she cannot jack up the gas rates. It's called road tax and gas tax. And so she raised the gas prices almost 40 cents in that area. I spoke to, because I was there for days before this event, I had put out on my X, I think it was like Friday, that the governor jacked up the gas rates. And again, that was in my opinion, just another little tidbit of how much she wanted to reject what was going on. And that's sad, because this was a member of her community. But I have no respect for the governor. She needs to, Arizona, you guys got to do better. You guys got to do better. Quit hiring these women. I'm sorry, I'm a woman myself, but I also know that I have a balls and a backbone, okay? I don't like women that have emotions in those types of positions. That woman is an emotional basket case. She runs off of emotions, not off law and common sense. I have no respect for women like that. Quit voting these idiots in frickin' office. They make the rest of the women out here in this country that actually know what the hell they're doing look bad, okay? So enough with the women, okay? Enough with the women. Unless you got a Carrie Lake, quit voting for the women. Quit. We are not in identity politics, okay? We need governors that have balls and backbones, okay? Not emotions and safe spaces. So if the woman's going to be, if you guys are insistent on having a woman being the head of the state, make sure she has backbone and balls. I'm just saying. Aw, thank you, Melanie. That's so sweet. I appreciate that. She says, safe travels, Betty. Much love to you. Big heart. Right here, making it up. There you go. Big heart. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, it's time for me to say goodnight. It's time for me to say goodnight to everybody, and we'll be back here tomorrow. I'll probably do a show. I'm not going to pull my computer out. I'm not doing a show like that. It's too much equipment to set up just to tear all back down. It takes me like between a half an hour to an hour to get everything set up when I'm on the road, which I don't mind as long as I have good internet, but most of the time I have shitty internet, and it's not worth the setup. I mean, if I had a good image and no hiccups and stuff like that, I would do it. Good night. Remember, not very important right now. You have a full armor. Aw, thank you. It's a pain point to see family and parents speak of autism as if it's a terminal disease. Well, some people like extreme autism. It like the parents. get beat up on by their child. They love their child and they take what they can take, but it's a very, very rough life. You know, what these doctors did to these children and kept it quiet for 20, 30 years. Like, we had to fire the freaking CDC to find out. Like, how much more? I'm every time I turn around, I'm just amazed with what President Trump and his team are doing. Everything that we've been wanting to have done, everything that we've been begging to have done, you know, especially in the area of autism. I mean, just hitting it out of the park. And now we're finally getting some clues as to what may have truly been happening. But the evidence is clear. You cannot put 80 freaking vaccines in an infant. That is clear. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Completely clear. 45 plus years, Betty, yeah. They've been poisoning our children, and they knew it the whole time. And it took us going in and firing the CDC to find out. And then, again, we had to deal with the freaking radical left complaining about the CDC being dismantled and fired. And then we find out this. They're corrupt as shit. They've been corrupt as shit. They've been poisoning our kids. The CDC was a complete failure. And I don't think we even scratched the surface of how bad it is. But thank God for MAHA. Thank God for MAHA. Don't forget that. MAHA. Make America healthy again. And Robert Kennedy's leadership. I'm sorry. I think at this point the proof is in the pudding. People that still want to deny are just haters. And you're never going to fix them and give up on them. Just don't even try. Because if you can't see what's right in front of your face about being lied to, being invaded, having criminals thrown out on the streets to continue assaulting there's no excuse for any of this. None. The only excuse that makes sense is that they've been trying to destabilize America. That's it. And we caught them red-handed. But it took him losing his life for us to get a clue. It's deep. It's deep. So anyways, when I get back to the office, we're going to be monitoring this case. Obviously, we do have an arrest. The memorial has already been over. You know, we don't usually get, like Sebastian Rogers' case, gone without answers for 19 months. So we're going to be, once this is done and over with, we'll be monitoring this case and providing updates on this case, but we've got to start getting back to our regular broadcasted show. I am developing a new show to deal with political stuff. I realize that there is absolutely a need for me to be vocal on a political platform. There's just too much at stake. And every time I turn around, I realize what the true stakes are. You know, our children. Our children. You know how that makes me feel. You guys know. You guys know how angry I am right now to hear. I mean, I'm happy, but after the happiness, anger. Pure anger. All the kids, all the babies, just anger. Just anger. But I'm glad we're seeing, I'm glad we're learning, you know, and I'm sorry, you know, for my Democrats friends and at that side. This is not okay. Like, you guys, if you want to maintain your Democrat Party, you're going to have to make a lot of changes within it. Or you're going to have to leave. Because this is not okay at all. This is quite disgusting. And then people try to demean people for putting the CDC director's personal business that was all over his quite public Instagram account. That is not okay. And you know what it seems to me? When I look at all these people that were in these high positions, it looked like the devil took over. Everybody looks so demonic. When you look at who they truly are behind those suit and ties, that's scary. I feel like it was Satan's army. Like, from the time that Biden stood up there for that statement of the nation, you know what, and he had that red and black behind him, it seemed demonic. And it's like, I see all these people, and when we rip the Band-Aid off and we remove the mask, we look and they're like these sadists, like sexual sadists, and just weird, perverted people to the core. And then you find out that they were running our country, telling us what to put in our bodies, forcing us to put stuff in our bodies for profit. It's just sick. And I'm glad to be done with it. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. But from what I'm seeing, I'm loving where we're heading. I am absolutely loving where we are heading. They worry more about how much money they can make. They don't care about people, and that's it. I was so proud of Trump and his team today. I was too. I will not lie. It's like, all of my hot button topics, all the things that I've been passionate about, that we've all been passionate about. It's like checkbox. I mean, the tough on crime, the exposing of how lackadaisy crime has been in a lot of places, and how we have been, prey because of these policies. And it's just like, I didn't realize how bad it was, but I do now. And all the boxes that we as a channel want checked are being checked. The crime is ultra low or getting lower, putting things in place, coming down on people in communities that have lackadaisy policies that put criminals back out on the street. Just everything. I feel like in another year, we're going to feel the most safe probably we've ever felt in 20 or 30 years. I truly hope that that's the case anyways, because that's been always my passion, safety. I feel like you can't accomplish a whole lot unless you have safety and stability. And I think that is like an absolute foundation that you have to build on. And if your foundation is weak in those areas, your building's going to crumble, But stability is absolute. You have to have stability as a foundation. And you can't have stability if you're fearful. So we've got to clean all these streets up. We got to make it safe for everybody, And I love, it's sad that these poor people in Chicago are begging for help, and they're being passed up because their governor won't allow them in to help and clean up the crime in that state. So I hope that people in Chicago and Illinois look at their governor and really ask yourself, does he really care about your health? I mean, would he really cry over you if you died tomorrow? I'm not sure that he really cares. I don't know what he cares about, but it surely doesn't seem like he cares about all the people being murdered in his inner city. Or is just fine with, 56 people going to the hospital with bullet wounds in them. I mean, I don't know. I would think, for me, even, I think emotionally. And, as again, I don't like the whole women thing being in high powers because I think they're too emotional. And I'm like on the low end of emotional when it comes to certain things. And I just don't know if emotionally I could handle that. It's like almost like a human element to, I think, to anybody is preservation of a human life. And to be so cavalier with that many human lives. And we want to just prevent all of it. But if we could just save one, we would call it a great day. And they just don't even try to save the one anymore. All they keep doing is having their hands out to the federal government saying, I need XYZ dollars to deal with my crime element here in the community. And we keep giving them money, and the crime keeps staying the same. So it shows me that they're just using the crime as leverage to get federal funds. And I think it needs to be merit-based. Like, you should be able to get money to keep when you show that you know how to keep crime down, you should be benefited more money to continue that effort instead of having to make your entire communities safe. I think if you have an unsafe community, it should limit your federal funds. You shouldn't be getting as many federal funds because clearly you don't know how to utilize the federal funds to begin with. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the crime problem you have. I think people need to be starting to get rewarded in our federal government for doing the right thing, as opposed to constantly doing the right thing, or excuse me, the wrong thing to get the federal funding. Because if people are being rewarded for doing the wrong thing, well, that's not good for anybody. I think I want the federal government rewarding communities that are doing right by their constituents, you know, and realizing it takes a lot of money to do the right thing, and provide them more money to help to incentivize them to keep doing the right thing. But I think they need to start doing the right thing before we give them the federal funds. They need to show us that they are really taking this seriously. They shouldn't be getting federal funds for crime or officers or law enforcement. We should cut it all off until they can show us that they are serious and put some skin in the game, and show us that they're willing to put some real effort into cleaning up their streets. I'd cut off all the federal funding, you know, but that's just me. Anyways, you guys have a great night. It was an amazing event. I do have some videos, but I didn't take too many because I figured, I knew it was live streamed, and I knew they would have better footage than I could get for my seat. So, and actually we did great. We did great because the floor was cut off. And for that, I think 90,000 people that were in that arena, I think they said 90 were in that arena. We had another some odd thousand in the overflow across the street, and that was almost to near capacity, but not quite. We had a huge amount of people, and for us, we got like the 6th row, and we could have gotten even closer than that. But we got it to right where we were over to the corner, the closest to the stage that we could get over to. Like the stage was this way, so we were over on the left-hand side of the stage. As you're looking at the stage, we're on the right-hand side. But if the stage was this, you know, pointing this way, the media cameras were over here, and we were over here. And it was we got like the 6th row, and like I said, we could have been down at the 1st row, but we wanted to get up just a little bit higher so we could get the angle right when taking the photo. And then, of course, all of the placards were on the floor, so they had a lot of people on the floor seats. And I think that's it. My brain's mush right now, but I feel like after tonight's sleep, I think I'll feel 100% tomorrow. I'm still not 100% yet, so. And when I get home, I'm probably going to sleep like twice as long because there's going to be a 3-hour time difference. Anyways, guys, I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. I'll probably do another live like this tomorrow before I head out of the hotel. And that'll be that. So I'm exhausted, but I'm making my way back to Florida. It's been a rough week. I still can't believe Charlie's dead. I don't think I'll ever believe Charlie's dead. Like, this stuff is so real. Anyways, alright guys, well, you guys have a great night, and we'll see you soon.